Good evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
We bring you the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Diego Dario, and in tonight's game plan, the Premier Volleyball League is back. We'll discuss first impressions in the opening day of the PVL 2022 Open Conference.
Then our PVL correspondent, Ai Tinsay, takes us inside the training bubble of the Valley Pure Water Defenders. And we go through the list of the top local scorers in the PBA Governor's Cup elimination round. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. The Premier Volleyball League has officially found its way into our hearts with the opening of the 2022 Open Conference today. As Pool A kicked things off with a bang, our resident volleyball analyst Neil Flores joins us to talk about first day impressions over in the opening day. Neil, welcome back to the game.
Hi, Neil.
Good evening, Pao. Good evening, Diego. Sorry I couldn't be there. It was so traffic.
Neil, you were actually
Yep.
there in the venue. It's okay. And I want to ask you personally how you felt because this was your first game covering live in 2 years. Prior to that, you were here in the studio watching the game from afar. But then this time, you could actually hear all the shouts, all the screams, all the balls getting hit. How did it feel?
It felt so surreal. Sabi ko kay Billy, the energy is still different when you're covering a game up close and personal. We might not have fans yet on the floor, on the sidelines, but soon enough, siguro when we get a bigger venue, I'm excited to see the volleyball fans fill up the stadium kung saan man tayo maglalaro. But I was very happy to be covering the game live.
And as you guys mentioned, Neil and Pau, you covered that game. How about a quick recap of today's games? Army versus F2. F2 winning 3-1 against Army.
Yeah, I covered that F2 Logistics game against the Black Mamba Army. F2 took it in 4 sets. It was a convincing win for F2 Logistics. Ay sabi ko nga rin kay Billy, F2 is F2. Definitely, they will be one of the teams to look out for, and they will be one of our definite title contenders for this Open Conference. For Black Mamba Army naman, they are still very competitive. They have new blood in Michelle Morente and Ivy Perez. So if they can find a way to really click and score more points dahil wala na si Jovelyn Gonzaga, they can rack up more wins in the succeeding games.
Well, Neil, you look at the F2. Let's start off with F2 first. The question would always be who could be that dominant scorer that Kalemao was here in the professional league, in a tougher competition. Right now, KKD coming up big, 20 points to lead F2. Is she the answer in terms of the number one offensive option for F2? Or do you feel that we might see more rotation in terms of the top scorer for F2 in the future games?
It's too early to tell na siya yung magiging main scorer, but with her performance a while ago, we all know na she can be dependable. Whenever you need a point or you need a finisher, you can just go to KKD and she will immediately score big points for your team. But I am still expecting a lot of other players from F2 to step up and punch in the numbers. You have Aragalang, Tintiamzon was a little bit quiet in terms of output a while ago. But Majoy Baron and Abby Maraño still there in the fold, delivering the defense for F2 Logistics.
Neil, how about this ongoing match against between Cignal and Cherry? Of course, the defending champs trying to play without Jaja in their lineup. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Actually, for me, Cignal is the dark horse in Pool A, and that's the biggest question Cheritigo has to answer. Dahil in the previous conference, we all know that Jaja was the main scorer. Every time they were catching up, ibigay mo lang ng ibigay kay Jaja. She would punch in the numbers, but now that she's not in the lineup, they have to look for another main scorer, and it can be in the figure of Mylene Paat. She's coming off a successful stint in Thailand, wherein she got the best scorer plum. So napalaking bagay nun for Cheritigo, and as she teams up with Dindin Santiago Manabat and their new players, especially EJ Laure, ang pagbabalik, you can still expect Cheritigo to defend their title in this conference.
So for those wondering what the score is as we are talking about this right now, Cignal currently lead 1-0 against the defending champions in Cherry Tigo. And the question still is, how can Cherry survive without Jaja, as you mentioned, Neil. But, without going too far, kanina we were talking about Army and their need for, I guess, more consistent offense and avoiding slow starts. Kasi yan yung nangyari kanina eh. Do you feel that this Army team has that potential to actually start out strong and shock some of the more favored teams dito sa pool nila?
Definitely, nung fourth set nga nung F2 Logistics, they almost got it. And kamunti ka na nga tayo mag-5-setter a while ago. It's just that they have to be able to minimize their errors because they gave up a lot in attack faults and service. So, for me, if they want to be competitive in the next coming games, Royce Tubino really has to embrace that role as the new top scorer. Alam natin, since wala na si Jovelyn Gonzaga, she will be the go-to player here for the Black Mamba Army. She didn't score any point in that first set, but still ended up with almost a 20-point performance. So alam natin that she can provide for this team.
Well, we've touched on F2, we've touched on Army, we've touched on a bit of Cherry as well, but now Cignal, you mentioned a while ago that you feel that they are your dark horses because if you look at the roster, they have reinforced well. And especially given what happened last conference, you know that this team is eager to right the ship and remind everyone that they're a lot better than what they were.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to get that first set, that's already a statement in itself. They have the best blocker in Riri Meneses. They also have a good setter in Jel Cayuna. Nandiyan pa si Ces Molina. So I feel that they were able to fill in all the gaps in their system. Kaya ngayong conference, I would say kompleto na itong Cignal HD squad na to.
And Neil, alam naman natin na itong conference na to, iba-ibang pools yung pinaglalaroan ng mga teams. And tomorrow, Pool B will play. Do you have some early predictions on how that's gonna work out tomorrow?
I just know that it's gonna be one heck of a game day for the people who will cover it.
What
It's
a
gonna be
safe answer. Wow. But okay, sige Neil, we'll give you that because syempre, I agree also. It's gonna be a great day of volleyball and we're all happy to see our fan favorites back on the floor. Neil, maraming salamat. I'm so happy you got to cover volleyball live again and I hope to see you soon in the venue itself.
Thanks,
Ingat ka.
Neil.
Thank you so much.
Now, the heart of volleyball continues to shine tomorrow. The Petrogas Angels will face the Bali Pure Water Defenders at 3 p.m. while the Creamline Cool Smashers square off with the revamped PLDT High Speed Hitters at 6 p.m. Catch the PVL 2022 Open Conference live on One Sports Plus, and via streaming on the Cignal Play and Smart Giga Play app. Now, speaking of the Bali Pure Water Defenders, after the break, we go inside the training bubble as they get set for the PVL. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
PVL fans! This is Ai Tensai and welcome to the Bubble Invasion, where we will get a sneak peek inside the training of your favorite teams. Halika na't samahan ninyo ako mag-invade ng Valley Pure Water Defenders. Halika na! Carly, how does it feel to be part of the team again?
For me, medyo nakakatuwa siya kasi unang-una meron akong mga bagong teammates, tas meron din akong mga natirang teammates. So medyo medyo nakaka-excite gumalaw sa loob ng court kasi meron kaming mga bagong nakasama, and yung iba kong nakasama medyo alam ko na kung paano sila pakikisamaan sa loob ng court. Ayun, yun lang naman.
And dahil may malaking pagbabago, paano to nakatulong sa'yo? Syempre sa moral mo.
For me naman, parang hindi naman kami pinabayaan nila coach, especially sa loob ng court. Lalo na alam namin na marami kami naging bagong teammates. Siyempre, yung bubble unang-una, nakatulong siya sa amin kasi nandun kami, yung halos yung kasama ko sa rooms yung mga bago. So medyo hindi ako nahirapan mag-adjust lalo na sa loob ng court.
Mga swinerte ka talaga, nakapag-gelling ka agad, no? Ayun, and ready ka ba sa mabilis na fast talk? Ayan, sige, color blue or color white?
White.
Only rice or only tulog?
Only both. Pwede ba yun? Pwede both.
Rainy season or PVL season?
PVL season.
Yes, opensa o depensa?
Pensa.
At meron ka bang paboritong sayaw, viral, kahit ano? Ayan, kahit ano. Meron ka bang paborito? Ngayon? O sige, okay lang. Paboritong volleyball drill na lang. Ayun. Paano ba yun? Dalawang step nga dyan. Isa lang. Ikaw na yung pinakamagaling na nag-example, Gagalingan ko, mag-practice din ako. Ayan. And lastly, message to the fans.
So ayun, sana supportahan niyo yung Team Valley Pure this coming PVL conference. Hindi naman namin sinasabi na supportahan niyo kami all the way, pero bibigay namin yung best namin bibigay namin yung lahat ng makakaya namin para mabigyan namin kayo ng magandang laro, and ayun, supportahan niyo kami. And
Maraming salamat, Carly! Sadi, how does it feel to be playing for Valley Pure again?
I'm very honored na kinuha pa rin ako ulit, hindi part of this family. Especially thank you kila Sir Hill. Mostly ang feel ko talaga is thankful and gratitude.
And ano yung pinakamalaking pagbabago sa team nyo, and how did this help you?
Dumami yung mga atichona. Dati kasi medyo mabait pa kami. Ngayon, full on attitude na sila lahat. Pwede ba yan?
Pwede. Siyempre kasi yung strong talaga na attitude And, at saka meron lang mabilis na fast talk. Blue or white?
Blue tayo.
Only tulog or only rice?
Only both.
And ano yung favorite drill mo sa volleyball? Pwede mo bang ituro sa akin?
Oh my gosh, hindi ako prepared. Nag-cool down na po ako
Sige, ano na lang, best pabebe pose for your fans.
Idol ko po si Bern. YouTube niyo po siya.
Ayan, maraming salamat! Eliza, anong feeling maging bagong water defender?
Masaya kasi nakabalik na ulit sa Valley Pure, tapos sinasabi ng mga teammates ko na walang pressure na maglaro kay coach dyan sa Valley Pure.
Eliza, ano yung pinakamalaking challenge for you ngayon?
Yung nagbubble kami ng 1 buwan kasi kami lang magkakasama, tapos puro training lang talaga yung focus namin. Siguro malaking challenge yun sa aming mga players.
And kamusta naman yung pag-training with Coach John?
Tinututukan niya ako sa receive kasi yung form ko hindi maayos. So inaayos niya. Hindi niya ako tinatantanan hanggat hindi ko naayos.
Ganun talaga si Coach, stricto. Pero alam mo yun, mabait din. Ganon, caring. O yan, ready ka na ba sa fast talk natin?
Tingnan natin.
Color blue or color white?
Blue.
Only rice or only tulog?
Only tulog.
Meron ka bang celebrity crush na malalaman ng fans? Wala, kahit opa.
Si Daniel Padilla na lang.
Uy, may nagsabi din ng Daniel Padilla kanina. Ayun. And meron ka bang cutest pa bebe face para sa mga manonood ng PVL? Maraming salamat! Alina, kamusta maging Bali Pure Water Defender ulit?
Ayun, sobrang saya ko kasi nakabalik ako ulit dito sa Bali Pure and ayun, excited ako sa mga teammates ko ngayong, lalo na yung mga bago kong teammates. And ayun, masaya, nakabalik ako ulit dito.
And ano yung biggest challenge nyo na na-experience nung bubble nyo?
Biggest challenge, syempre yung yung mawalay sa mga parents namin, sa mga kasama namin sa bahay. Pero ayun, since hindi naman siya panibago sa amin kasi last year nagawa na din namin for bubbles. So ayun, naka-adjust naman na ngayon and mas 1 month lang kasi kami nung bubble na yun. So okay lang din kasi naka-uwi na kami din hanggang ngayon.
Yes, and yun, Alina, meron akong fast talk. Okay, ready ka na ba?
Ready.
Color blue or color white?
Blue!
Only rice or only tulog?
Ali Rice.
Meron ka bang celebrity crush na pwede malaman ng fans?
Celebrity crush, si si Sangster.
Yun. And kung rookie ako, tapos teammate mo ko, tapos may tuturo ko sa aking favorite mong drill, ano yun?
Favorite
Drill.
Drill. Setting drill, syempre.
Ano yung setting drill? Pakita mo nga. Dali!
Bakit gano'n? Ayun, kailangan yung bola, naka-triangle dito sa Yan, kailangan ito yung bola. Triangle yung form mo, and then, set.
Sana matanggap ako ni Coach John, no?
Tatanggap ka niyan.
Ayun. Maraming salamat, Elina! And this is the bubble invasion for the Bali Pure Water Defenders.
Here on the game.
That's a Bali Pure Bubble Invasion with our own Ayit Insay. When we return, we go through the list of the PBA Governors Cup top local scorers throughout the elimination round. Keep it here. You're watching the game. Welcome back to the game. I'm Paulo De Rosario. We shift now to the PBA Governors Cup with a quick update from the opening matchup of the playoffs between the NLEX Road Warriors and the Alaska Aces. The Last Dance continues. Don't stop the music from playing. 93-79. Alaska stay alive. Jeron Teng, what a performance from him. 16 points, 6 and 3. And the new import of Alaska, St. Fort, replacing Olu Ashaulu with 17, 14 and 2 with the debut win. Now, with the elimination round officially behind us, my partner, PBA Rush analyst Diego Dario, will help us break down the top local scorers across the league. Now, this discussion is happening after the league released the stats on the local scorers that really did shine. So let's start off first with from the bottom and go up to our number 1. So the 5th player on that list is none other than Terra Firma's Wami Chongson. And I think we have to mention it. Dalawang Terra Firma players yung nasa listahan na to. So it's Josh Munzon and si Wami Chongson. Josh Munzon is number 3. When you see these two players, is it a surprise that Terra Firma have 2 players on this list? And it's these guys.
Yes, definitely. In an import-laden conference, it's going to be really hard to produce points because you're going to expect the imports to really score and dominate for your team. But when you talk about Wami Tiongson, he's really embraced this role for Terra Firma. You can see in the last conference, the Philippine Cup, he had outlier games, against big teams like Ginebra and San Miguel where he had around 25 to 30 points. But right now, he's proving to the fans, to the PBA, that he's a consistent go-to guy and a scorer here. And he's really learned how to pick his spots, whether that's from the 3, mid-range, or all the way into the lip. Meanwhile, Joshua Monzon, he has really been aggressive for Terra Firma. He's really going all the way to the paint, getting fouled, and most of his points really come from the free throw line.
So looking at the numbers there, Josh Munzon, 19 points per game in 6 games, and si Wami Chongson man in 10 games, 17.8 points per game. And it's funny how Wami Chongson is part of a big 3.
Yeah.
That's right, the big 3 of Terra Firma. Now, here's a name that won't surprise anyone, number 4 on our list, si Matthew Wright ng Phoenix. And Matthew Wright, honestly, he's more well-rounded this season, given his playmaking. But then we all know him for scoring, and I guess it's not really a surprise to see him averaging 18.17 in 12 games.
Yeah, not a surprise at all. Matthew Wright is one of the guys that if he heats up, they can beat any team in the league. He's that type of a scorer, especially when he's hot from the outside. And of course, more than his scoring prowess, it's really his assisting that really made a difference here in the Governor's Cup, and also he's clutch. That's what he is.
Yes, he is. As we take a look at some of the highlights here, look at him, Matthew Wright, just draining that triple there in the face of a defender. Now moving on, though, when you look at Matthew Wright's numbers, as impressive as they aren't as impressive as a Mikey Williams with TNT. Again, this is just based on the numbers. And when you look at Mikey Williams, people are saying that you basically have another import on the floor when you have a Mikey Williams leading the break and leading the TNT team in terms of scoring for the locals.
Well, I wouldn't blame people if they say that because Mikey Williams is currently averaging 21 points per game. He played in 11 games. But his pull-up jumper is really, for me, his first weapon, and that allows him to really penetrate into the paint and go for his crafty finishes. But he can really make difficult shots off the dribble, and I think he's really the perfect fit for this TNT team where they go dribble drive, they go one-on-one. He's the primary playmaker. And for Mikey Williams, I think it's just a great fit, and that is why he's one of the top scorers here in the PBA.
And sometimes when you have Mikey Williams doing what he does, it really feels that his moves, you can scout them, but you can't stop them. Now, moving on, number 1 on our scoring list is none other than Northport's Robert Bolick. What's interesting about Bolick, hindi lang siya yung top scorer sa mga locals. He also leads the leagues in assists and in steals. So, grabe, kompleto talaga yung skill set ni Robert Bolick. What do you see from him this conference in particular that elevated him to this status?
Well, you know what, Pao? It's been a long time since we've seen a local really lead the league in points and assists in terms of locals in an import-laden conference. And Robert Bolick is doing that right now. I think it's because of his playmaking. If Matthew Wright and Mikey, it's their jump shooting, for me, Robert Bolick's playmaking is his number 1 weapon first, and that allows the open driving lanes to open up for him. That's why he can finish in the rim. And then when he gets it going from the outside, it's going to be tough to beat Northport, but Northport is a team that Robert Bolick will need to carry, and that's what he is.
Well, Robert Bolick, as we all know, wears his heart on his sleeves. You see
Yeah.
it every time that he plays. And you can only feel that he's getting better and better. Pero alam mo, looking at these numbers, sinasabi nga natin that, okay, these are guys we sort of expect to excel in terms of scoring, regardless of it being an all-Filipino or an import-laden conference. Pero iba talaga kapag sinabi mo you're leading scoring in an import-laden conference, because that's really not what's not expected of you in these particular tournaments.
Well, that's true. That's been the trend because, of course, if you have an import, you want to give the ball to him most of the time. You want him to create for your team. But if you notice, all the top scorers that we've mentioned are all mostly guards, right? Because the imports here are usually threes or even big guys, and you can see the stats right there. So you can expect the guards to really step up in the Governor's Cup because most of the teams will focus on trying to defend the imports, and that will open up things for these scorers like Bolick, Williams, Munzon, Wright, and Tiongson.
Well, you know, you look at all these names, Bolick, Williams, Munzon, Wright, Chongson, you can make arguments that other people could and should probably make this list in the future. But right now, our hats off to them, especially the guys from Terra Firma. Two players from that team in the top 5. So let's see whether or not they can translate that to wins next time around. Jegs, again, lots of thanks for you because you weren't only a host today, not only an anchor, pero nag-address ka rin, tama.
Yep.
And I don't know kung doble yung TF mo, pero again, maraming salamat.
Thank you, Pao. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you guys for joining us. I'm Diego Dario.
Catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario, and this has been The Game.